Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. You are about to get a good 3 hours worth of radio here. We are in an election season, and we've actually had some movement on the things that you and I were talking about earlier this week. Number one, today, breaking news, there has been an agreement on the debate setup. Oh, okay, cool. Yes, Kamala Harris agrees to 3 debates. Oh, wow. All 3 debates? So she's going to do the ABC, the CBS, and the Fox News debate? No. She said 3 debates, as in she's going to do the 2 on platforms that are amenable to her, ABC and CBS, and she's going to allow her VP to only do 1 debate. When Tim Walz was asked about it earlier this week, he said, no, I'd be willing to do 2 debates against J.D. Vance. Kamala said, no, he's going to do 1. Me and Trump are going to do 2, and I'm not going to do that crap where I go into the Fox News setting. So that's a little bit of movement there. My first guest going to have something to say about it. Ashley Heights back on the James Show. And here we have, again, Trump and J.D. Vance are facing the media. They're answering questions, having a 2-hour-long discussion with Elon Musk. J.D. Vance is fielding questions from reporters just randomly. And you still see Kamala hiding.
Well, of course she has to hide. She has nothing to say that would be beneficial to her or her campaign. But we are all living the policies that she has put into place, like the Inflation Reduction Act, so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which has caused costs and inflation to completely soar. But it doesn't surprise me whatsoever. You know, it's another thing we talked last time about how President Trump went and spoke at the National Association of Black Journalists. And Kamala Harris, who's using race as a key cornerstone of her campaign, wouldn't even participate in that, which I think actually is a huge, huge slap in the face to the organization. And I hope they recognize that when you have somebody who's honest, open, transparent, makes promises, and as we learned in the previous administration, keeps those promises. But she doesn't want to debate in the
you and I have complained about it, and it seems to be a legit criticism, but it doesn't seem to be hurting her in the polls. Hiding from the media seems to be working for her. Why would she change?
Well, and we're going to see the polls can probably continue to stay this way for another week or so to the DNC convention. And another thing I think we talked about, too, is the big blue machine gets turned on. And it's actually been shocking how we've been told how terrible she was, the worst VP ever for the past 3.5 years. And overnight, literally overnight, she is, you know, God's gift and, you know, such an incredible, you know, trailblazer and on the cover of Time, and it'll probably be Vogue next, right? But that's just what we're up against, which is why I'll say the ground game is probably the most important thing we can do, and to share the message. I talk to voters every single day. We have people on the ground that are talking to real Americans who will be voting in the most important states in this election. And the number one issue we're hearing is the economy, and the second issue is border security and community safety. So at the end of the day, President Trump will continue to stay on message with J.D. Vance. And people, if Kamala Harris participates in a debate or not, it doesn't change the fact that she screwed us all over with these crazy prices. We all feel it. 1 in 3 parents can't afford back-to-school supplies for their kids. We all feel it.
Right, but the people who already think that aren't going to be voting for her anyway, and if she's not going to make herself available to the public, I mean, it's going to be real hard to win over some voters.
When you cannot... I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I bought a gallon of orange juice. It cost $8. 2 years ago, in 2022, that orange juice was $4. You cannot tell me that people who don't hear Kamala don't know that it's not a result of this administration's policies.
No, but I'm telling you that
people are going to vote with their wallet.
These people think that Trump is Hitler, so that's not going to be a compelling argument. They would happily pay.
Targeting to turn out.
I know,
but if someone thinks that, you're not targeting them to turn out. They're not with us anyway.
No, we have to dispel the idea that they are Hitler. And I don't know. I really don't have the answers here, or they would already probably be doing it. I just find it really frustrating how once you can convince half the country that Trump is Hitler, it doesn't matter if Kamala never speaks to the media, if she never gives out some policy platforms, if she never does press interviews or answers questions. They don't care. They don't care if she does bad in the debate. They're fighting Hitler.
Yeah, you've got to look at voter registration, though. Look at Bucks County. Bucks County just flipped to a Republican county that's a bellwether county for the state of Pennsylvania. People are moving to the conservative movement, to the Republican Party, because of this administration's policies, and Kamala Harris is very much a part of that. when you're thinking about, filling up your car, or you can't take your summer vacation, or like I said, you can't pay for school supplies, and it's a direct result of this administration, that's going to be your deciding factor, not whether or not this woman gets in front of another teleprompter or has another Megan Thee Stallion concert. So we have to do our job. If somebody's radical leftist, we're not going to go knock on their door. We want to talk to the people who are the low propensity Republican voters. We want to talk to people who are maybe identify as independent, but they're feeling the impact of this economy. President Trump has laid out a policy. He has a proven track record. He's in the media. He's getting earned media. The campaign has been absolutely stellar so far. And Kamala Harris, we all are feeling the impacts of her administration. By the way, the more that we can keep talking about, her vice president pick and his stolen valor and his COVID lockdowns and his gender modification of children, the more people are going to be more and more distant from the two of them.
Well, you're going to be happy that some of that's coming up in the next segment, Ashley. Thank you very much for being on the show again. How do they find you outside of WBAP?
At Ashley Hayek or AmericaFirstWorks.com.
Thank you very much, Ashley Hayek, on the James Show yet again. And yeah, coming up next, you'll hear some sound bites where people have dug up some things that Tim Walz probably doesn't want the rest of the world to know. Because it sounds a little silly when it's not 2020 or 2021 anymore to be locking people down or firing from their jobs for not taking a vaccine that, That's coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Okay, now yesterday I brought you the man on the street audio of someone sticking a microphone in front of the face of random people on the sidewalk. And the people that were saying that they support Kamala Harris couldn't tell you why. They couldn't name an accomplishment.
What do you think of her? Is she doing a good job in office?
Yeah, I think so. I really like her.
Great representation. I feel like definitely it's amazing to have a woman vice president.
Pretty solid job.
I really do agree with a lot of the policies she's been putting out, and I think she's a great vice president.
What policies specifically do you agree with?
Can you tell me some? Maybe I don't know what her policies are.
Can you name any specific accomplishments that you're super proud of?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of many of them.
I can't really, to be totally honest. What I really like is that she does kind of give the nation a positive face, being the first woman president.
No, not any specific ones particularly.
All right, now listen, just because these people can't name an accomplishment doesn't mean they're going to change their mind and vote for Donald Trump. But just having the question go through their head for the first time, you can tell, like, you can't keep up enthusiasm for an empty vessel very long. You have to put some sort of label on it. You have to put some sort of cause, some sort of issue behind it, some sort of campaign. Not just, well, she's a woman and she's a woman of color and doing a great job. Oh, really? What job? I don't know. So she has addressed some of that with a statement today from her, or actually this came out last night. Her campaign released the first the first sort of draft of their issues. A lot of people are focusing on the first ever federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries. Now that is a unnecessarily longly worded but intentionally deceptive word salad for price controls. They say they want to set clear rules of the road to make it clear that big corporations can't unfairly exploit consumers to run up excessive corporate profits on food and groceries. Yeah, price controls. So what does that mean? How much profit is excessive? Oh, whatever you say it is. So if you just deem somebody to be making too much money, you can control the price. So what's that called again in economics? When the state can control who buys what, who sells what the prices are, how it's made, where it's made. There's inspections, health inspections, building inspections, all that. But it's still privately owned because full socialism is the government ownership and control of the means of production. Here, the means of production is still staying in private hands, but government controls every aspect of it. What is that? Oh, that's right. Fascism. I do not ever remember price controls. But some of you do. Some of you were around in the 70s when we tried price controls. The price of gasoline was getting too high, so they thought they'd just jump in and save you all by limiting the price that it could go up. And then what did you have? shortages. All right, so her first little foray into the issues, of course we're not going to like it. I mean, we're on Team Red, she's on Team Blue. We're going to be nitpicky about that. But that's all we've gotten so far. And it's just like a one-way communication. It was even a text. So when is she going to answer some of these questions? When is she going to go into details? What does this mean to have excessive profit? What does this mean to unfairly exploit consumers? What's excessive price increases? I would say the price increases of the last 4 years would be a little excessive, but what do I know? So now you have the spectacle of the media who is carrying water for her. Actually, they would love to carry more water for her. When are we going to get some water? We're out here defending you, and people are saying, well, what do you like about her? And we don't have an answer. Well, what policies do you like about her? We don't have an answer. Can you give us a policy? Can you come out and can you please just talk to the media? So there's this guy, I guess his name's Steven Tyler, but it's not that Steven Tyler. He's a spokesman for the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz campaign. And you have him on CNN with Jim Acosta. Yeah, that Jim Acosta who used to get in arguing matches with President Trump when he was in the press pool, that guy, begging him, dude, just when are you going to do a press conference? Give us a break here. We're trying to carry your water. You got to give us some water. When are you going to do it? And listen to the dodge.
Michael, I'm sure this is not going to be the first time you've heard this question, but the Trump
campaign... Okay, I got the name wrong. Michael Tyler, sorry.
...is also going after the vice president for not doing enough interviews, for not holding a press conference. Would it kill you guys to have a press conference? Why hasn't she had a press conference?
Listen, the vice president and Governor Walz have been busy crisscrossing this country since the launch of this campaign and adding Governor Walz to the ticket. You saw the ways in which they went across the battleground states last week, generating rallies of thousands, 10,000 here, 15,000 there. But Michael,
a campaign rally is not a press conference.
Thank you, Jim Acosta.
Do you mind if I cut in? I mean, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Why hasn't she had a press conference? She's the vice president. She can handle the questions. Why not do it?
We absolutely are going to do it. You hear her take questions as she's out on the stump. And she said last week, we're going to be having a sit-down interview here before the end of the month.
Wow.
What she's going to be focused on and what this campaign is going to be focused on.
Look, that's so brilliant because he's asking her, when is she going to have a press conference? Oh, she already agreed to have a sit-down interview by the end of the month. Not a press conference. So right now, the timetable is infinity.
Communicating directly with the voters that are actually going to decide the pathway to 270 electoral votes. That's why she
Can you commit to a press conference this week?
This past week. That's why we're doing a bus tour in Pennsylvania as we head into Chicago. And it's why we'll sit down for an interview before the end of the month to make sure that we can have a deep dive conversation about the vision that Kamala Harris has for where she wants to take this country and the contrast that we're going to have with Donald Trump. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to do that throughout the rest of
but one interview by the end of the month.
This month and throughout the rest of this campaign.
I don't want to belabor this, but one interview before the end of the month. I mean, that's not a lot. I mean, can you commit to a press conference before the end of the month?
We will commit to directly engage with the voters that are
That's a no. Okay, that's a no. Look at him. He's like, man, we're trying to carry your water. Can you just have a press conference? I'm on your team. Just tell me something. Give us some sound bites. Give us something that we can work with. Give us something that we can, talk about when we have our little talk shows and play it. And like, here, what do you think about this policy position? Isn't that the greatest in the world? Of course, it's the greatest in the world. Isn't this way better than Trump? Of course, it's way better than Trump. Give us something. Because now when she goes out and he's right, she is doing these rallies, but here's what she's doing at the rallies. The same damn speech over and over and over. Breitbart caught up on that and spliced her last 5 speeches together. This is a montage of her last 5 speeches. Check this out.
Many of you know, before I was elected vice president, many of you know then, before I was elected vice president, as many of you know, before I was elected vice president, as many of you know, before I was elected vice president, as many of you know, before I was elected as vice president or elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general, and before I was elected United States senator, I was an elected attorney general.
All right, there's a little bit of comedy here, but the point that's being made is she just goes out there, she reads off a teleprompter, she doesn't say anything off the cuff, she doesn't answer any questions, she doesn't give any in-depth details, then she walks off, and this is winning for her. Don't criticize for this, she's winning.
I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. I took on perpetrators.
Same speech. So all she's done is give the same speech like 5 times. She's not answering any questions. This is the woman who doesn't have a voting record because she was VP over the last 4 years. She only has 2 years of a voting record as a senator. It was super duper duper left. And then she doesn't have any sort of campaign through the primary. She didn't do any of the debates. She didn't do any of the interviews, the sit-down interviews or the press conferences. She's actually answered no questions here, and she's still not doing it. Like, they're hiding. Look, this is still going, by the way. You know his type? Is that what you know?
Predators who abused women.
Oh, we're still on that.
Donald Trump's type. I know Donald Trump's type. I know Donald Trump's type.
Look, it's one thing for me to gripe about it and for you to kind of get a good giggle out of it. But when Jim Acosta from CNN is like, hey, when's the press conference? Can we just do one before the end of the month even? And look, the end of the month, that's like 2.5 weeks away. So that's the latest on the campaign trail going back and forth. I do have some more of the policy platform coming up later in the show. But in the next segment, we're going to check in with Simon Hankinson from the Heritage Foundation and talk about border security on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. Sorry to interrupt your rave, Garrett. Just kidding. If you want to jump in, 800-288-9227. So we're learning more about Tim Walz. And a lot of this isn't going to change who you vote for, but it will give you a better understanding of who this guy is and why he was picked. And people think like this, and it's not just people. I mean, this is a guy who is governor of a state, and a real state, not like Rhode Island. No, I'm just playing. But, Tim Walz, this isn't a homeless guy barking it on the corner. This isn't a professor in one of your kids' colleges. This is a guy that's governor, and right now on the ticket is VP. The person who's VP right now shares all these views. Let me give you the mind your own damn business montage. Now, this was put together by Breitbart, where they show you how he feels about, healthcare and government intervention and government regulation and control of private sector decisions when it comes to 2 things. There's 2 things that they're libertarian about: abortion and mutilating the undercarriage, sterilizing children for trans purposes. Other than that, this is not the mind your own business party, but he's trying to make that case. And if he meant that, I would like it. I would support it. But here's the montage from Breitbart.
These are the guys that believe government should be free to invade your exam room with your doctor.
Vice President Harris and I will make sure that you make your healthcare decisions.
In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. We respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. We respect our neighbors' rights to make their own personal choices.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is requiring vaccinations now for all state agency employers.
We know there's a golden rule. There's a golden rule. When you learn a golden rule, mind your own damn business. 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 We did a stay-at-home order. We closed down personal care providers, getting your hair cut, social gatherings with other households. Don't bring other households in. We're going to stop in-person dining, fitness centers, and adult and youth sports. Places like bowling alleys and bingo halls and theaters will need to take a pause. Receptions, private parties, and other celebrations, the same thing, and outdoor events and entertainment. Let's pause some of the social stuff. Early on, there was some talk that no deal would be made unless I got rid of the mask mandate and took off all mitigation measures. Well, that's not going to happen.
Vice President Harris and I will make sure that you make your healthcare decisions, because we have a rule. Whether you'd make the same decision as someone else, just mind your own damn business.
Oh, I wish. What was all that mind your own damn business talk? Mind your own damn business if you're wanting to get an abortion. Mind your own damn business if you want to sterilize your minor children. But bingo halls, screw you. We're going to interfere. You don't get to mind your own damn business. If you want to pay bingo halls, you're going to have the permission of me, the governor. I'm shutting it down. I'm shutting down indoor dining. It's so laughable because on one hand they're admitting that's a popular thought. Mind your own damn business. Who would oppose that? Sounds good. Oh, so you're a libertarian. Oh, no, you're not. You want smaller government? Oh, no, you want bigger government. See, he doesn't really want to mind his own damn business. Because if he did, I mean, what's OSHA? Occupational Safety and Health Administration. If you've ever had a real job, they're the ones who come in and tell you how you do everything. If you work at a restaurant, they tell you how you have to wash your dishes. You have this soap, and if you're going to have a bar, then you need a 3 basin sink. This has soapy water. This has rinse, and this one's open. They come in and they micromanage every aspect. Even the shoes that the guys are wearing across the street on the construction site. OSHA has a law that says that better be steel-toed shoes. They would still probably wear them anyway. But look, they don't believe in mind your own damn business. They don't. What's the EPA? What's Obamacare? I'm sorry to step on some toes here. What's Medicare and Medicaid? You don't think they're somehow affecting the decisions between the doctors and their patients on the course that they're going to choose? How about you mind your own damn business when it comes to building codes and health codes, and pretty much every regulation on the books violates your principle there, Tim Walz? Why didn't the government mind their own business in healthcare right now when it comes to using MDMA as a therapeutic for PTSD? That was another big story that came out today. There are some doctors who've been working on it, treating mostly military veterans with PTSD with MDMA to sort of ease them into it and work through some of their issues, and they've gotten good results from it. So they've been trying to go public with it. FDA just told them today, after 3 years of clinical trials and data, that they don't think it's quite safe enough. They're going to need 3 more years and a few $100 million worth of more clinical trials before they will allow you and your doctor to try it. So no, they are not all for mind your own damn business. I wish they were. And look, that's another data point against the whole COVID vaccine thing. This garbage with the MDMA being used to treat PTSD, whether it works or not, whether it's good or not or whatever, it's going to be a 6-year process at least. That's if they pass this next hurdle in 3 years. And this is for people to take low doses with the doctor's supervision of MDMA to treat PTSD. But you were supposed to either get this vaccine that hadn't been tested for 3 years, hadn't been tested for 6 months, and you were going to have to take this or lose your job? Where's all that mind your own damn business when it came to all the pilots you were firing and all the teachers you were firing and all the government workers? Because you didn't mind your own business then when you did the mandates. You didn't mind your own business when you shut down fitness centers and bowling alleys and concerts and social gatherings. Like, you can't even have Christmas. You shut down Christmas. And the horrible part is, just for a little extra context to get you a little flared up, he was saying these things while the George Floyd riots were happening under his nose in his state with no shame. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. We learned a little bit about Tim Walz today, didn't we? Coming up next, we're going to talk to a guy from the RNC about the Democrat National Convention next week. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. Well, we are 2.5 months, just a little less than 3 months away from the election. And now that we have both of the tickets set, we got some new news today. Kamala Harris actually released some policy preferences and agreed to 3 debates, 2 between her and Trump and 1 between the vice presidents, Walz and J.D. Vance. And the 2 debates are going to be on ABC and CBS, but not Fox News. What happened there? Tommy Pickett's back on from the RNC. Why wouldn't Kamala Harris want to do a debate on Fox News, Tommy?
Well, I think because she's afraid to. I mean, she's shown that she's afraid to answer questions. That she talked a big game about wanting to debate President Trump, but it's showing that she's not backing up her rhetoric with actions. And if she's too afraid to debate on Fox News, I think she's showing that she's too afraid to be president of the United States. So
I am pleasantly surprised to see the criticism continue on her not doing any press conferences or any long form interviews or answering any questions or even being off teleprompter, really. I actually saw some of this complaint coming from the left. I was playing Jim Acosta earlier on CNN. Is she going to have to do something about this, or are they going to give her a pass?
Well, I hope they don't give her a pass. I'm not holding my breath here because the mainstream media, or at least many people in the mainstream media, seem determined to run cover for Democrats as opposed to report the truth. I think ultimately, though, the American people aren't going to stand for it. It's really insulting to the American people that the first sort of interview even that Kamala Harris did wasn't an interview. It was a discussion between Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. So the only person that Kamala Harris has answered questions from since she was installed as Democrat nominee, at least in public, is Tim Walz, her own running mate. I mean, that's the level of absurdity that we're seeing with her campaign. She needs to answer these questions, but just like with the debate, she's obviously afraid to. And if you remember back to 2019, it was those interviews that really sunk her campaign because she was adopting all of these far left policies that she still has. And she couldn't answer basic questions like how to pay for them because there was no answer. So I think that's why she's avoiding these interviews and avoiding these press conferences, because she's adopting far-left policies that she can't possibly defend.
Will it cost her any votes if she doesn't step up and be a little more transparent and open?
I think it will, because I think the American people want transparency. They want questions answered. I mean, just look at this latest proposal you mentioned, this price control proposal that literally could have been ripped from the Soviet Union 5-year economic plan, if you can even call those economic plans. I mean, the price controls have never worked anywhere they're tried. They only lead to breadline shortages and poverty. And yet that's the first policy proposal she's put forward, except for the one that she copied from President Trump, no taxes on tips, when in reality she spent her entire time as vice president targeting tipped workers. So I think she needs to answer these questions. The American people are seeing her record. They're seeing her radical record. And I think the American people rightly see that if you are too afraid to answer questions, like I said, you're too afraid to be president of the United States.
Give me a preview of what you expect next week at the Democrat National Convention.
Well, I think we're going to see Democrats continue to claim that the border is secure, the economy is great, and our standing in the world is improved, when in reality on all three of those points, it's the exact opposite. I think it's also important to note that Joe Biden is going to be kicking off that convention because it's really Biden's policies that Kamala Harris and other people have endorsed, and Kamala Harris is even further to the left of Joe Biden. So it's Biden and Harris's record together. She's trying to run as this new face, this new figure, when in reality she has been there for every single one of these policies that have led to one catastrophe after another under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So I think we're going to see at the DNC an attempt to rewrite history, an attempt to erase Kamala Harris's record, and an attempt to try to gaslight the American people. I don't think it's going to work, but we're going to see the Democrats try.
The other thing, this isn't directly election related, but there's a congresswoman, Anna Paulina Luna. She's out of Florida, if I remember correctly. She's wearing a Make America Great Again swimsuit, and she put this out on her Instagram. Did you see her in this one-piece swimsuit?
I haven't seen what you're referring to.
Okay. No. Well, then you probably can't comment on it, but she turns around in the video and the swimsuit's all up, her backside, and you can see like her entire butt. And so there's a criticism like, this is not a good look for a congresswoman to be showing her butt on the internet like this. This is totally unacceptable. But she's doing it in like a Trump bathing suit. And so like half of America is defending her and half of her hates her, I think, based on politics. But I mean, you're an RNC spokesman. Do y'all have any opinion on scantily clad pictures of your congresswoman?
I haven't seen what you're referring to. I don't really have an opinion on it. I think ultimately the focus here for me is going to be Kamala Harris and her failed record. And, I think that's where we're going to keep the focus.
I hear you. I thought maybe you could say something on that, but since you hadn't seen it, totally understandable. All right, Tommy, how do they find your work outside of the James Show?
Well, they can go to @RNC Research or @Trump War Room, or they can find me @Tommy Pickett on X for all of those different accounts. And I encourage everyone listening to go to TrumpForce47.com, sign up, get involved if they want to. Volunteer to help save this country.
Did you say Trump Force 47?
Yes, TrumpForce47.com.
Oh, I hadn't heard of that one yet. All right, there he is, Tommy Pickett from the RNC. Thanks for being on the James Show.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, fun stuff. Coming up next, some sound bites from the campaign front. If you have any comments or questions, really we're asking, is Kamala going to do a long-form interview? Is she going to answer questions? Is she going to have a press conference? Does she even need to? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to the big show. If you want to jump in, 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Back to the campaign trail. I wish we had more audio to float back and forth, but were you here when I played the montage of Kamala's last 5 speeches? It was the same speech over and over and over. And she was just saying the exact same lines in the exact same order with a little bit different inflection here and there. But we're not getting a whole lot out of that side of the campaign. Most of the Tim Walz audio I have for you is from stuff he said before you knew he was going to be VP or a VP candidate, whatever the proper term is. And Kamala's not doing interviews. She's not doing press conferences. She's not taking questions at rallies. And by taking questions at rallies, a good example, J.D. Vance was out at a rally, took questions. It's that simple.
Sir. The New York Times, I wanted to ask you about the latest economic news from this morning, with inflation now being under 3%, the lowest rate since mid-2021. What is your sort of reaction to that news?
Well, I think the crowd reaction says it all. Look, When they say that inflation is down, they mean from a baseline where groceries are already 30% more.
He keeps going on, but I just wanted to play a little bit of that for you because it doesn't matter necessarily the nuance of his comeback. The fact that he's just fielding questions is enough to put him ahead of why can't Kamala do that? You see J.D. Vance doing it. Has Tim Walz done that yet? No, he hasn't. But Trump can. Trump can go out and take random questions. He can go out and have a chitty chat with Elon Musk, unscripted, unprepared, for 2 hours, talking about all kinds of a whole range of issues. Kamala, you can't sit down for a press conference or stand up for a press conference. You can't do one. Can you commit to one before the end of the month? Did you hear that earlier with the Acosta from CNN? Would it kill you to have a press conference? She's asking the spokesman for the Kamala Harris campaign, can you commit to a press conference for the end of the month? We can agree to a sit-down interview. Well, that's not a press conference now, is it? So no, they can't. They're doing this on purpose. It's not like, well, my schedule's so packed I can't take any questions. No, you just heard J.D. Vance. That's how it goes. You're on the trail. You ask a question. You know it's not a setup because there's no teleprompters there. And he's asking a question of a guy he doesn't even know who he is. And he says his name, and he's from the New York Times. So it's not a friendly outlet. And the guy asks an antagonistic question. What's your reply to all the great economic news that came out about Kamala Harris today? So he's in an unfriendly platform, being asked an unfriendly question by an unfriendly reporter. Whoop-de-doo. It's not really that big of a deal. So why isn't Kamala doing it? My answer, I don't know. I don't think her crew is letting her do it. You know, just how we saw the crew that wouldn't let Biden do a whole lot. There's this same crew now that has just slid Kamala into that seat. Remember how Biden would slip every once in a while and say, well, I'm not allowed to ask anybody some questions, so I'll just get out of here. You're not allowed. Who tells the president that he's not allowed to ask questions? Oh, okay. So the same people that were telling Biden not to answer questions, same people telling Kamala not to answer. Okay, that's making a little bit more sense here. Yesterday on the James Show, Trump was live in North Carolina, spoke for over an hour, and one of the biggest applause lines from yesterday's event, we played some of it live. We didn't catch this. I caught this after I went home and reviewed it yesterday. He brought out the old "you're fired" line and got a nice little review there.
We're not going to let this incompetent socialist lunatic keep breaking our economy for 4 more years. It'll destroy our country. On Election Day, we're going to tell her that we've had enough, that we can't take it anymore, Kamala. You're doing a horrible job. You were a terrible attorney general. You were a terrible district attorney. You're the worst vice president in history. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. Go. Get out of here. Right? Get out. Boom.
And as we speak right now, I have it on CNN and Fox News in the studio right now. And in the bottom right-hand corner of Fox News, they have a little bitty box with a live camera on a podium that says "Soon, Trump News Conference." And then over on CNN, they have, and part of their screen, a camera that's set on this podium that's empty with 4 American flags behind it. And their caption says, "Moments away, Trump takes questions from reporters." Now, this should matter more than it does, but I don't know how long they can keep this up. This is such a weird situation to be in the first place because she didn't vote on anything or have any tangible policies in the last 4 years. And totally understandable. She's a vice president. She didn't have to. She wasn't supposed to. Totally unnecessary. But usually at this point, if the vice president is going to succeed the current president, they go through what? The primary process. They do the debates. They do a bunch of interviews. They do a bunch of rallies. They do a bunch of press conferences. And we know not just who they are, but what they're running on, what they intend to do. Should they win your vote? Should they win the election? And we have never known so little about a person at this point than we do about Kamala Harris. And it's not, look, the VP part, not her fault. She's not supposed to have a whole bunch of votes that you could go look at. Now, she did break the votes, break the tie in 2 votes, went exactly the way you thought. She has 2 years of a voting record in the Senate. And if that's all you're going on, it looks pretty left. But This is the point of press conferences. This is the point of answering questions from reporters. This is the point of doing as many debates as possible, not as few. This is the point of going into places that will ask you antagonistic questions to silence the critics who say, well, yeah, if he's only going to friendly venues, and she's not doing any of that. I think she can get away with it. I think the media can carry her water enough. There's enough delusional Americans out there who will vote Team Blue no matter who. There's enough people out there that already think Trump is Hitler. We're only talking about like maybe 2% of the voting electorate is even available to be convinced. I think the only thing she has to worry about is, without any more of an effort on her part, a lack of enthusiasm, maybe. I think that's her biggest. I don't think she's going to change anyone's mind. I don't think she's going to really lose any support. There may be just some people who are less enthusiastic about going to the polls and voting for her, and maybe that can hurt her. But I think she can get away with this for the most part. Just do some minimum. Just give them an excuse to carry your water. That's all they're looking for. So, look, even you can say, hey, well, Kamala's never done a press conference since she's been the candidate. Yeah, but she has one scheduled on September 4th or whatever. Just schedule one so you can get rid of that criticism. That's all she needs. That'll come out soon. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Brandon Walton's from the Texas Scorecard. We got to talk about this open bathroom plan at an elementary school in Texas. You know what open bathrooms are? You want your 6-year-old daughter to have to use a bathroom in a place where people can walk by and see her from the hallway? It's coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.